Meanwhile, you mentioned something about Hunter Biden. I want to.
Yeah, he's in the news occasion.
I hear he's the son, apparently, of Joe Biden.
Finally, we're tackling middle-class problems.
Yes.
Like gun control and crack use.
Well, the gun control.
What he doesn't have.
The special counsel overseeing the investigation, indicating he plans to file new criminal charges against Hunter Biden by the end of the month. Comes about 6 weeks after the original plea deal between David Weiss and Hunter Biden fell apart at the very last minute over whether he'd be immune from prosecution on other crimes. Weiss filed a motion in federal court this week which said, quote, the Speedy Trial Act requires that the government obtain the return of an indictment by a grand jury by Friday, September 29, 2023. At the earliest, the government intends to seek the return of an indictment in the case before that date. This would seem to suggest he's talking about the gun charge. Now, originally, Hunter Biden was charged with 2 misdemeanor tax offenses, failing to pay taxes in 17 and 18. He was going to agree to a diversion program on the felony gun charge, meaning he wouldn't be prosecuted at all. But here's what I want to know. Will new charges be enough now, Scottie, for the far right? David Weiss's recent appointment as special counsel, giving him broader powers, was dubbed a sham and a joke by folks like House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and Oversight Chair James Comer. Senator Ted Cruz called it a disgrace.
This appointment is camouflage and it's cover-up. I think it's disgraceful. Listen, David Weiss was the U.S. attorney handpicked to lead this investigation, who spent the last 5 years covering it up.
Handpicked initially by the Trump DOJ. But is this, I assume this isn't going to change anything, right? The right is not going to suddenly come and say, okay.
Well, first of all, I'm offended that you called me the far right.
I didn't.
Like to think that I'm a common sense conservative.
I'm asking you what they're going to do.
Well, the question, of course, they're
not what are you going to do. What are they going to do?
Well, they are going to do exactly what you're seeing them doing, saying this is just a cover, this is just a throw out. They're not going to be satisfied with just talking about Hunter Biden, who broke the law being on a drug and buying a weapon. Hunter Biden's not going to damage Joe Biden any more than he already has. Now, what this does do is open up the door to look at what I think conservatives and Republicans should be going after, is the international business dealings and how much Joe Biden, when he was vice president, was involved in Burisma, was involved in some of these.
The problem is they have gone after it, and they can't. I mean, Devin Archer, for example, testifies he was very helpful to the House Republicans, except that he said things like, well, Joe Biden wasn't involved with Burisma. And he would have known because he was on the board of Burisma.
But now we know there are all of these different pseudonyms that he was using in emails. We don't know
every other president?
Yeah,
and vice president before.
Well, at least he didn't have enough sense like Hillary to bleach bid it before he actually runs for president.
Donald Trump's Justice Department chose not to prosecute.
First of all, the fact you're saying this Donald Trump's Justice Department is a complete laugh.
Well,
that is, I mean, if you look at anything, there's been nobody that's been more targeted by the DOJ than Donald Trump over and over. Now, just because he put one name forward doesn't mean that makes it his DOJ.
Well, then do you say the same thing about Biden with regard to Merrick Garland? When people say the Biden DOJ is doing this and this and that, because I kind of agree with you that it's often unfair to tar, but they constantly are doing it with Merrick Garland, suggesting all the time that, oh, Merrick Garland's doing whatever Biden tells him to do, and there's no evidence of that.
But you look at it, these guys have been career professionals. They don't just come into the DOJ underneath that president. They have been there for 20, 30, 40 years to build up to that. It's just that president puts them in that leadership and brings their name to the public's attention. They're not just picked out of a judgeship in small-town Iowa. They've been there. They've survived. There's a reason why.
I'm just hoping that maybe finally Democrats will actually care about the Second Amendment and maybe be against some gun control. It'll keep their own guy out of jail. Maybe we can do that.
I think it's fantastic that Republicans finally care about unregistered gun ownership and not paying your taxes. Wow. I've waited my whole life for this moment. I'm outraged by this, Dan. I think it's a political witch hunt against Hunter Biden. I think his enemies are going after... I'm just kidding. People who aren't in a cult don't care that Hunter Biden's being investigated. People who aren't in a cult of obedience think that all public figures should be investigated and prosecuted if they've committed crimes. 100% of the Democrats I've talked to think Hunter Biden should be investigated and charged if warranted. About 3/4 of the Republicans I've talked to think that Donald Trump is above the law.
I don't know where you're getting your numbers from. Don't take it from your like Whole Foods produce aisle. I think the majority of Republicans, because we all know Trump's worst enemies have been within the Republican Party. That's why we're in the same. Well, but the people that have held Trump, that have been anti-Trump, have been within the Republican Party since day one.
Yeah.
So the majority of Republicans, I do believe.
But they're not anti-Trump. They're pro-law.
No, they're pro-law, so they're seeing that the law is being manipulated and used to target a person. It just happens to be Donald Trump.
Donald Trump has a problem with committing crimes. He can't stop. He's earned this. You should enjoy it a bit, Hot.
Larry,
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.